against then, of course, their opponents in the finals, opponents throughout these last couple of weeks of international in Bilibili Gaming. Of course, now with that new jungler as we kick things off, it'll be AL on that red side. Interesting to note for BLG, some changes in their leadership as well. They have Kael jumping in to another coaching role. Not necessarily in terms of the draft, but also just being involved with this team. It seems like the map decisions and the objective setups were the biggest things that were really haunting Bilibili Gaming during some of their tougher runs. So we'll see if some changes in the coaching department can help them there.
On stage, as you saw, still EasyHoon leading the draft and with Big Way as well to kind of help. So coaching staff getting a bit of more firepower. We'll see what Kael is able to do leading review. As AL, we kind of went through this draft. Gwen, Vi, and Annie, some of the most banned champions on the patch currently. Talia and Pantheon joining them as well. It's going to be that first pick in the Rumble here for Flandre. And interesting here from BLG, there are no games being played. They're locking in the Azir for a night. They're taking the Trundle immediately here. We're blazing through this draft. I have no idea how we got to this situation as BLG.
Did they just handshake like, hey, we're gonna pick these champions and just like go in with a set draft? Like we played each other so many times, we don't need to like let's just cut to the chase and just lock some champions in, because that's what it seems like so far. As a full topside has been opened up right now for anyone's legends. We'll see if BLG respond with a Scion here for Bin. Definitely a bit of a safer pick, not something that will necessarily be able to match to the Rumble in terms of damage or 1v1 presence, but obviously can have a bigger impact in team fights if played correctly. And I do like Trundle here for Shadow into these 3 melees.
Trundle definitely gets a lot of early access to some of these champions, like you were saying, and the Chomp definitely kind of takes away some of the AD that a Yone would like. But I'm thinking about side lane. Yone is going to be really potent to deal with versus an Azir. Even thinking stylistically, this feels like, you know, we swapped champions. I feel like Yone should be going over tonight. Shanks should be picking up the Azir. Maybe some later game team fights will be seen from BLG. And as we get towards the back end of this draft, the AD carries are going to be so important. AL have a ton of lockdown and the ability to dive onto their backline, whereas BLG, very comfortable with just receiving any kind of pressure and slowing the game down.
Now, obviously, this Maokai can be a bit of a flex pick as well. Could go towards Kael in the support position if you wanted to lock in a different pick like a Lilia or something that could maybe match the Trundle Scion combo a little bit better. We'll see what exactly anyone's legends want to do in the second half of this draft. They've already banned away the Nico from On. Elk's Lucian is obviously always a very powerful pick, so that is going to be off the table at least for this first game.
If you're just looking down the priority list of most picked AD carries right now, Sivir and Jhin are still, or Jhin, sorry, is taken away. Sivir's the only one remaining alongside the Xayah. Xayah would mean that Elk is allowed to play in the bottom lane a little bit more by himself. Rakan's already taken away. So for BLG, what is your priority? You're going to still try to figure out whether or not you want more frontline, more ways to slow down the game to allow this Azir to take over? That seems like it's going to be the case. AL now kind of have a few different choices. That Sivir did get hovered a few times, and we're starting to see Senna rise in priority, especially early on in the series.
If you are AL, definitely need something to be able to shred open this big tank front line that BLG have set up for themselves, whether it's the Trundle, the Scion, and now the Alistar that's been locked in. Corki with the armor penetration on his Gatling gun should be able to help out a little bit there, especially with that true damage in his kit now. And it's going to be the Rel for Kael to finish things off. They leave Elk last pick here for BLG. Something nice to round out their composition. MF would just provide that Wamba, but it's going to be the Sivir that has really risen in priority in the week that BLG and AL have actually been gone from the LPL.
All right, early game, I really love what we have here from anyone's legend. Kael, with this Corki, should be able to have really strong potency in the laning phase. The level 2 spike for these guys is going to be really strong, and Corki with that Gatling gun is always going to be a very, very good duelist. And with Yone early, especially with the Rumble, priority should be going over to Tarzan. But as the game goes on, I mean, you're looking at Trundle being able to take away stats from these champions, the Pillar by itself being very, very influential and potentially forcing out some spells from their opponents. Sion's going to have a great front line. There's an Alistar as well. I need AL to be very quick to the trigger. How fast can they get on the board, and can they gather maybe some early grubs?
And as you say, countering that with the early game of AL, you have the late game of BLG, right? You have Sivir Azir as this super powerful backline, and then of course Trundle, Scion, Alistar. just going to soak up all the damage that anyone's Legends can throw at them as we get later on into this game with the infinitely stacking HP, the resistance ceiling, and the like. BLG have themselves a full team fight composition. We'll see what Shadow is able to do to help them out in that capacity. Again, some of their late game setups were the reason that they did not get as far as maybe they hoped at MSI and towards, of course, that LPL final that they did lose to anyone's Legends. Now, 4 games specifically in a row that BLG have dropped to AL, and this is a matchup that I think many people consider to be BLG favored entering the start of this season, but it's been AL controlling the narrative so far, at least over these last couple of months. They've had the better MSI performance. They are your defending champions, and they're the ones with all the go buttons here in the first game of this best of 3.
Last game, that echo that we saw from Ultra Prime actually was a big throwback in that screenshot that I took showing. We saw Elk on Ultra Prime and we saw Shadow on LGD. I love the amount of history we're getting in today's matchup.
Whoa!
Oh!
Hold on! Hold the gyos! There's a flash! Bin had to flash away! What is happening? Tarzan flashes too! Oh my god, he's gonna bramble smash over the wall!
He's dead!
Bin's gonna die before the gyos even finish off! Don't stop cheering! It's AL picking up first blood! But now Bin's in the zombie form and the rest of BLG are trying to collapse. Shadow lands a chomp, but that's all he's gonna get! AL, your defending champions off to their great start to this first game.
I mean, look, 300 gold for my Corki. We'll take that. I think that Sion not having flash is obviously not as impactful, but this Trundle flash no longer being available alongside Tarzan's could make a difference if Shadow is able to find the enemy jungler of AL. As we take a look in that picture-in-picture on the bottom of your screen, you get to see what exactly happened. Bin not necessarily expecting their Corki to be there, so I mean, a good enough punish. We'll see how much AL are able to kind of squeeze from this advantage.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I know that, Sign and all, you can die and it's great and it's fine, whatever, but I'm sure Elk's not happy about it. That Corki's got a glowing mode. It's going to become a Sheen a little bit quicker now. He's got that kill.
Thankfully, it's just a glowing mode, right? It's only a
For
little
now.
bit of ability haste. For now, like you were saying. Both junglers starting on the top side. An early ward already spotting Tarzan on this blue buff. Same thing will happen over to Shadow. So kind of an arms race as to who can get towards the bottom lane. I'm not expecting this to be as much early game, specifically from these two junglers for right now, just by the fact that they don't have flash. And as long as Tarzan is just covering his lanes, I can't imagine there's going to be much happening.
That fan vote, by the way? 88%
Like
for anyone's
90%?
Legends. I feel like BLG are often such a popular team, but maybe the LPL fans have had enough of these new junglers rotating in and out. They need to see some results first. As Shadow, not going to be able to steal that one away. Tarzan securing that smite, but again, this is the power of what this Trundle can do in the early game, especially against a champion like Maokai, who is a really terrible duelist.
Well, I said that I'd really liked the early skirmishing potential of this Corkian Rel, but something that I didn't mention was the pushing pressure that you have thanks to the Sivir. When Trundle's already invading and take away some of the Raptors, then you have this bottom lane who can constantly crash the waves and move over. We got to see On move into the bottom side jungle. Makes it tough for Tarzan to contest for his camp, so he'll only lose out on his red.
Crash down land. It's a big Valk as well onto On. Ignites ticking. On the flash away sooner. He'll just go down. Using that summoner spell to his advantage. Hope's gonna have to pop the barrier. Second proc of the W lands onto Elk, but he's got his lethal tempo procced and both summoner spells up. So he's not gonna be able to go down just yet. AL. A couple of summoner spells, but hey, shout out to BLG's bot lane for punching back nicely.
They got to be very careful, though, because Elk only has the cleanse. Hope now using the barrier will mean that in terms of combat summoner spells, BLG are going to be feeling really comfortable with the position that they're at. On, with control of this brush, potentially could find an engage onto Kael. At the very least, maybe squeeze out a summoner spell from the enemy support on anyone's Legend. But for the time being, going to see a little bit more of a reset. Shadow still has a couple of his camps. He actually has some of his top side camps respawning. And Tarzan's already taken an early recall and looks like he's going more into that Faded Ashes AP of the Maokai.
Might need it a little bit when you have this double AD threat in the mid and the bottom lane. Obviously, the Rumble is going to be able to dish out a ton of damage, but back to Shadow.
I think it's because there's a Trundle. There might
that is
be
true.
the Trundle.
You don't want to be stacking armor, I guess. That is also A very fair point. Speaking of this Trundle as well, I mean, just the fact that BLG are changing up their junglers, right, for another split. Shadow had such a defined playstyle on FPX where he really was like the big playmaker here for his team, the one who kind of made or break those decisions. But now he's on, I guess, like the most stacked roster he's ever been on. This must be a great opportunity for him to prove himself on a team with, as you mentioned, like these solo laners and the bot lane that really have been able to just be top performers in the league for years.
It depends on how much of an EU coper you are in that Mad Lions rosters he was part of for a couple of years.
I love Arome, but Bin is I think a little bit more of an established name. I'm not gonna lie.
Maybe that's true. Definitely been in more World Finals than he has. So
yes.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. This is by far the most stacked roster, but it feels like for people on the outside, maybe the most confusing roster, as BLG have almost always been a team that has been dictated by the solo laners, by having been in Knight or even been in Yagao. But now you're seeing a situation where you have someone who's a bit more proactive, someone that's going to be a bit more of a leader, especially in comms. We'll see how he's able to adjust to the system, as we have BLG immediately starting up on this dragon. The bottom lane of AL just took their recall, so not really a space for anyone's Legends to contest.
Yeah, I mean, Tarzan's just so far away. He's already pathing towards the top side of the map, knowing that there's a crab, a blue buff, and then eventually those grubs up there. So should be easily controlled here by Bilibili Gaming, as Shadow will pick it up. And again, as we go forward and watch this series and watch this season as a whole from BLG, seeing what Shadow is able to do, both in terms of his individual gameplay, but also his leadership value, as you mentioned. Beichuan maybe not necessarily able to really provide that full voice. Shadow is a leader and somebody who's going to be able to call the shots on basically any team that he's on.
Taking a look at the map right now, everything's pretty even. We do think that BLG are going to be a lot stronger as this game goes on, so them being able to grab the first dragon is great. We'll see what happens in a minute's time with the grubs going over. When you have this team that has a Rumble, that you have a Yone in particular, we want to see them be able to control the side lanes a lot stronger. Even with things like the Maokai, you can kind of cheat map pressure and cheat priority around the map by having saplings on one side and then playing to the other side with this Maokai. So I want to see how Tarzan's going to be able to navigate this game, especially with some of the early advantages that they should have.
Now the bot lane's gotten back into it a little bit here, as Hope and Kael able to push forward despite the Sivir and the Alistar, who Hex Flash forward onto him. First dragon, as we mentioned and as we saw, taken by BLG. Next objective setup will be around the top side of the map, those grubs. And with Flandre, of course, getting that push against the Scion, should be an opportunity for AL to do something there.
Looking at Tarzan, I mean, he has his bottom side camps he could go for. There's not a lot of vision here just across the river when you're looking at it from anyone's Legends side. They have a single control ward near this red kind of entrance, and they've got a ward up in the tri-brush of top side, but aside from that, there's not much doing. Kael's going to try to utilize this unsealed spellbook, teleports around this side of the map. On is not quite in position yet. He's going to get spotted here now, so early grubs for right now is going to go over to anyone's Legend.
Shadow's in the area though, and Knight had that wave pushed in. But without On really in a good position to contest, it's just going to be these grubs picked up, as you mentioned, for AL. And that's a nice start for them in this one. They lose that first dragon, but again, they're already up that kill that they got in the first blood towards Hope. Now they get a little bit extra turret pushing power. With the responses here on the bot side, though, Shadow is level 6, so has Subjugate available. Looks for a play onto Kael, but now On actually pops that summoner heal as they maneuver towards a fight around this second spawn of the red.
This needs to be very careful here, because Kael can sustain. He has flash, and Tarzan's coming.
Yeah, the crash down lands on it too. Shadow still has not used that ulti. Not going to need it to make sure that objective goes down. And so Tarzan going to be just a little bit too late. That's the price he pays for having those grubs go his way. Shadow able to get at least a little bit back on the map.
That's not bad. I mean, in terms of experience, it's not going to matter all that much for these two junglers. Tarzan getting all 3 of the grubs means that he actually hits level 7 before his counterpart, but Shadow has now taken at least 2 of the camps now of Tarzan on repeat. This is a respawn red that's coming up here, and Shadow being able to take that in trade, I think, is really, really good. So a great movement from BLG to get something on the other side of the map while AL are staking an objective, and now we're in a position where 2 minutes before the next dragon, you're looking with There's not going to be a teleport from Kael to be able to play on the opposite side of the map. There might be a situation where we try to force Flandre or one of these solo laners to lose their summoner spells before this objective.
Not for a while. Still some time to set up vision and maybe look for one of those aforementioned plays. But you know, overall, BLG doing a good job at controlling the map so far. I mean, it never really was this point in the game that they struggled against AL. It got those moments maybe came a little bit later on. We saw some of those chaotic team fights that went back and forth, I guess most notably in the game number 3 of that series. That was probably
Don't remind me of that Sivir game.
of their MSI
I'm actually
game.
omega traumatized because of that game.
Oh, it was a fun one though, if you're just like a fan of competitive League. But
oh yeah,
AL ended up winning. I mean, the fact that they 3-0'd BLG after what many people considered them to or maybe not even didn't even know who the organization was going in. I mean, a big testament to how they've been able to play so far, and I think they very clearly come into this LPL split-off being the odds-on favorites to win the league and to go back to Worlds. Let's see if they can do it here in this game 1, as Knight's going to have to use the Shifting Sand to escape.
That was supposed to be top esports, and they seem to be regular season merchants. We'll see how the rest of this split continues to move on forward. Obviously, AL, like you were mentioning, just have a large target on their back. With all of the names they were able to take in the upper bracket even of the LPL Split 2 playoffs, and just generally their performance, getting a top 3 finish at MSI, going to 5 games against Gen G and T1, that's going to be a resume builder regardless of what team you are. So we'll see what happens. We've got now a couple seconds before this dragon spawns. AL are the first ones to recall here. So this seems like this is going to be BLG's objective. I don't know, Shadow just wants to try to protect this as a single plate. I don't think it really matters for the time being, but now with them having to take their recalls, BLG are going to have to fight back onto the map if they want this second dragon.
Both top laners have teleport if they want to join the fray. For Flandre just getting close to that level 11, not there just yet, just staying 10 I should say. Is on going to go in with 2-man pulled and start the fight in earnest before the teleports do arrive. It's going to be Flandre here first, has that equalizer available. Good position to use it, but gonna hold it for now as Tarzan smites it away. There's the engage. Kael with a Magnet Storm wombo combo. That's 3 members of Bilibili already down, and it's gonna be Knight and Elk to try to save this team fight for them. The Emperor's Divide does enough, but Flandre still here. He burns down, but Knight's gonna be able to pick up 1 kill back, but he will go down in a trade. 5-1 overall for AL.
This game was so quiet for the first 10 minutes, aside from that level 1, and it immediately breaks open on a second dragon. BLG just too quick there. I mean, our AD carry is not in position. AL, they had taken their timers, they played with respect to their opponents, spent their gold, and properly punished BLG for trying to go for this dragon now. Going for a second play at this, I do like this coming in from BLG.
Tarzan has Smite, should be able to secure this one with Shadow really not in the area. The question is, can BLG win the fight in response? They have a teleport coming in from Knight, and Tarzan's already very low, but they've taken down on all else being targeted a little bit, but it will eventually be 3 members down. And now Shanks has teleported perhaps to his doom. Now uses the spell shield to get away from that second Q. He'll eventually go down, and now it's going to be the pillar to try to slow things down as Knight will chase down Shanks and eventually secure the kill.
And this is a fantastic spot here for BLG, because while they lose out on this dragon, think about the summoner spells that they were able to grab. Shanks, no teleport, no flash. Same thing with Hope as well. And now Knight gets all of this bottom lane wave. He'll be able to also grab this turret plate. So gold being injected into the Azir. This is exactly what you need to be doing when you have this champion. So a great performance coming out from BLG.
Thought that maybe this one team fight would have signaled a very one-sided game after this massive engage from Kael, but BLG did a nice job to respond.
Equalizer, Fate Unsealed, Magnet Storm, not much to do if you are BLG. It is incredibly easy for AL to be able to punish. But the end of this fight definitely extended. Not only Knight being able to pick up the kill, but how long it takes them to be able to grab all of this. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. There's a screaming Chinese rumble in my ears right now. That's what that little rat sound was, but... And then the rest of this play, it just took too long for them to take the dragon.
Yeah, Shanks like kind of was half in, half out on that play. Hope, obviously low HP, and it means that BLG get a big chunk of gold back. And actually, if we go back to live, believe it's multiple members actually of BLG ahead of their lane counterparts. I think Elk, most notably one of them at this point.
I like the idea here from Shadow. If you land the pillar, it does technically do 1 damage, 1 true damage to your opponents. Probably wasn't going to make or break, but I like the idea there from Shadow. Like you're mentioning, we go back to live. Getting more and more even here. Shadow with 400 does mean that gold is about even for right now. AL are propping themselves up on the top side of the map right now. You can see that BLG immediately moving. Flandre will have teleport in about 15 seconds, but Bin doesn't even want to use this. He wants to be here first. Maybe they make a pick on the Kael.
Yeah, he's going to have that unstoppable onslaught. And they landed on top of him.
Can't
Blast
do it.
Cone, though, is going to cancel the knockup, and Kael's going to live for a little bit longer. The health bars on Elk is already very much in a bad spot, but Kael going to go in for one more last-ditch effort as he never was able to find an escape. And now Knight's going to dash forward with the shifting stance, not finding the shuffle, though, onto Tarzan. And AL still wants the smoke. Two-man Fate Seal's going to come through from Shanks, but not enough damage just yet until the equalizer comes through from Flandre. Knight is down! So it is a 1-for-1, and you'll take the mid lane for support trade any day of the week, especially with that Rift Herald now up.
Okay, I mean, AL now, they get the feats of epic monster slaying by taking this Herald. They'll also have 3 grubs, so more of that split push win condition. Look at the items already completed. Flandre had to finish that Leandries before Bin had. Same thing here with Tarzan. An amazing fight for AL that started off with Kael getting poked out, but these fights just take too long for BLG, especially this early on. We had not incorporated Elk. I feel like a large portion of why BLG are suffering so early on is that 1 or 2 members are not there. They are not as coordinated as they need to be with this front-to-back composition. Multiple attempts to try to stop him from getting that blast cone, but even On and Shadow, what are we doing? We're trying to knock him up. I thought maybe On was going to reposition Hope into his team, but that doesn't end up coming through. And then, well, what the hell is Knight doing, brother?
I thought he was just going to like try to find a scoop back on a Tarzan, but just never pressed the R button. Maybe the Bramble Smash that helped him out.
Yeah.
But the amount of burn damage that was able to be put out in response from both this Corki and the Rumble are exactly what AL can bring to the table as we continue to go throughout this game.
Okay. Seeing some trading just across the map. It is 50 seconds before this dragon. And thinking about not only the Herald, the grubs that we were talking about earlier, but this game right now, AL are keeping the pace. The gold is even for right now, and I think this dragon is going to be so important, especially with that Otacon spotting in the bottom side of the map in about 2.5 minutes.
It's crazy that we're only 17 minutes into this game. I mean, I don't know. You were watching that first series, right, Alk? And
yeah,
there were some of those games we were waiting around for a while. It seems like
that game 3 was
BLG,
agonizing, man. The first 15 minutes of that game 3 was something.
AL and BLG, though, they've had enough of the pleasantries. They've seen each other enough. They know that they can just start throwing hands immediately. No disrespect needed. These guys obviously have had a lot of experience playing against each other over the past couple of months as Kael burns that barrier just to have that Ignite back unlocked with the Dragon about to spawn. Shanks is pushing up to the top lane as well. Going to probably get this tier 1 tower down, but it means that BLG can get the first hands on this Dragon.
Yeah, they just couldn't enter into the river fast enough. You can see that On was already in position. Elk right now trying to hold this mid lane tier 1, and while AL are trading for this dragon, they're going to get 2 turrets across the map right here. It is a massive influx of gold that they're willing to trade for an early game advantage, and that might just mean that Shanks gets his second item a little bit quicker. That might mean that Hope gets his Muramana that much quicker than his opponent, and that could be a game breaker for this team.
And this play is able to happen because, of course, Tarzan get that second Drake and not the third, as they're trying to contest this mid lane tier 1 tower, which is very close to going down, but not dead just yet. You also have Flandre pushing here on the bottom side, so soon BLG will have to likely sacrifice one or the other. Looks like it might just be both. And this tier 1 tower will be taken down by Flandre very easily.
I love being technically correct. I was like, they'll lose 2 turrets. Did I say whether it was going to be the mid tier 1 or not? No.
Maybe it's...
Give yourself an out here. A little bit of tips for casting for anybody at home. But we do assume that that mid turret is going to fall eventually, especially with how low and, again, the objectives that AL do have. So going throughout this game, really important for AL to keep pressure on the map, making sure that they can stay in front of their opponents, especially in terms of item economy here. As once Knight and Elk hit 2-3 items, they're going to be very difficult to deal with. Knight already getting the Leandries and the Nashor's Tooth here, and Elk just finishing the Navori Flicker Blades.
Yeah, again, the late game composition for BLG is really where they shine. So the fact they've been able to keep things pretty even and actually have their their bot lane in a very good position right now with Elk specifically is a very promising sign for what BLG are able to do for the remainder of this game. But AL still have the ball in their court, all things considered. They have the turret advantage. They're looking to try to push this mid lane wave in, but you can see now with Elk on this Sivir, becomes very hard to contest any of these mid waves because you clear them with just one set of spells.
One of the, trade-offs, instead of going for an IE or an LDR second when you have this Flicker Blades, the ricochets are basically 0 cooldown at that point. And with the Essence Reaver, you get the mana back on hit, so makes sense. Permanent uptime on these spells. The attack speed bonus that you'll also get from having your ricochet is definitely really well felt. You'll have the lethal tempo. So if Elk gets to plant his feet, same thing with this Azir, we expect that BLG should be able to rip apart this AL frontline, who really is just a AP Maokai and maybe a Rel. So AL need to be a little bit more cautious, and BLG, they say, okay, we're down like 1,300 gold. We do not care right now. The game is fine.
And so for now, as this game progresses, it's going to be up to anyone's legend to find these creative flanks and find an engage like we saw from Kael right around this area of the map, around that second dragon fight. A lot to prove here for Kael. Again, one of the best performing supports in the LPL all season long. Wanting to show more, this time on bigger stages.
We got over the
His
wall.
first international. The combo from Shanks not going to connect here, but the Nature's Grasp actually going to lock up 3 members. Destiny Smash not finding anybody as Bin's going to be able to back on away. Just a big load of cooldowns burned for not too much.
Really lucky there from Kael that he actually survives that, and more specifically, that he lands on the other side of the wall. On was trying to stop him. Not another play, no wards.
Wow.
One finally spotted out on, channeling the teleport so they can get back onto the map, but there is no vision here from BLG and no chance for them to be able to get this in time for the Otacon.
No ultis available for On or Elk.
Oh, Flandre!
Storm still available here. Look at the equalizer! Knight and Elk are just burning, and now the Otacon has been secured. Flandre has his flash to continue the chase, but they're just going to let BLG escape with a warning. You get closer to Flandre, you're going to be tasting a whole lot more flames. As Shanks is going to dash forward and actually cancel some of these resets as well.
Oh, all right. Well, Elk, somehow he loses flash in that fight, so Otacon given over to AL. That's a lot of experience as well being given with all of the flowers, including the adaptive forces that they're going to be having. They have the feats of strength done already completed now. AL are in such a strong spot. It is only 2,000 gold at this point, but you look at it, almost all of it is concentrated in Flandre, who has this disgusting flank. Again, we talked about it coming into this fight. There are no wards here from BLG that tell them anything, any kind of information here. And he just cooks the carries of BLG. Right into this choke, Elk is like, oh god, I gotta get away from this. We're getting right back to live.
Another teleport's going to come in. It's Shanks looking to join the fray, but it's going to be immediately responded to by BLG. Elk takes the shutdown, and now it's a numbers advantage here for Bilibili Gaming with the Dragon spawning in 5.
Flandre also lost his flash. We might have to go back to a replay. I know we were just stuck in a replay for forever. On's going to take a little bit of damage. Maybe Kael tries to find something. He still has his flash. This opens up BLG 4v5 before the Dragon, and this could be their sole point.
The equalizer is still up, so is the Magnet Storm from Kael if they want to try to fight this in a 5v4. But I think they're
going to give it up.
Know better than it. And BLG going to claim themselves that Cloud Soul point with AL looking to push mid as a bit of a counter. Let's take another look at how Flandre lost his flash.
Okay, so didn't know how many other members were there. Pillar from Trundle comes out to try to split open this wave. You can see how difficult it is becoming for anyone's legend as this game goes on. It's only 24 minutes. But Sivir is in such a good spot here. Finished the call at the same time, so in terms of value or an economy, he's going to be very, very strong. Flandre wants to see if Knight will overextend for a minion wave. That will not end up happening. And AL getting punished here in this game. Games can continue to go later and later. The souls now being stacked here for BLG. I was wondering, the TP from Tarzan, or from Shanks, looked a bit peculiar. I had saw Tarzan with almost third of his HP gone. They were going to try and punish this, but
they didn't see
look at the collapse, the timing of this. Shanks, it's unfortunate he did not have his ultimate at the start of this.
Yeah, and that's a big kill going over to Elk, who again continues to grow in strength here, nearing that Infinity Edge. That third item is really where the Sivir will start to come online. We're 20 seconds away from Baron spawning. Really a lot on the bottom side of the map to contest anymore. And so that is where the focus of both of our teams now rests. Anyone's Legends holding about 1,000 gold lead, but this game really could go to anybody at this point.
AL need to be careful because anytime someone is on a side lane and maybe they don't have teleport or they lose control of mid-wave, BLG can very quickly start up this Baron. They have a Nazir, they have a Sivir who is almost hitting 3 items. So at any moment here, BLG could try to pull the trigger, force a summoner spell out, maybe get Flandre's TP. We'll have to see what BLG are able to do in this map state now, as not much to do for at least the next few minutes. You can kind of see that AL, unless they're all grouped up, unless we're seeing kind of with Shanks moving with Tarzan, they don't actually have a ton of kill threat at this point in the game.
Yeah, you just need the wombo combo if you're AL to find anything. It has to be on some of these backline threats. Elk and Knight need to be eliminated if AL want to win one of these team fights early on. The Nature's Grasp has come out, as AL are going to actually let's try to chase things here. Beichuan, or sorry, Shadow, I should say, as he's now the jungler for BLG at the flash over the wall. Make sure he does not get trapped in that Baron pit, and that means the go button can't be pressed. A nice equalizer is going to slow down Elk, separate him from the rest of the team, and that gains AL full control around the area.
They need to start up this Baron immediately. Someone needs to be able to teleport Bin, Knight, both of these guys, both at full HP, but Elk with no mana or no health at this point. Kael's over the wall trying to stop them. Can they get into this pit?
Shadow has no flash. That's a big gap closer that could be necessary to try to secure a steal, but instead it's Anyone's Legends backing away for now. Still a 5v5 that has been opened up. Flandre, though, crucially without that equalizer. We've seen how impactful that has been in these 5v5s, so it looks like AL are just using it as a bait and will not actually go for the full flip.
I mean, without the Maokai ultimate, it seems like they're going to just try and do this again. You can see that Tarzan, 8 seconds before that Nature's Grass continues to be back up. And with Elk having his flash up and available, BLG are going to be in a very good position here. AL, this is incredibly risky.
Started it up again. Teleport has already come in from Knight, dishing out some chunk damage. His hope's down to 60%. Elk's done a nice job of regenerating himself. He will be at full HP upon a potential team fight, as the Baron was taken to half and then reset once again, but On's going to go forward with that flash headbutt pull. Bin not be able to find anything with the unstoppable onslaught, though the Nature's Grass finds a whole lot of value. Bin has to flash away. Kael going forward with the Magnus Storm. Hope valking forward, but he goes into 2 members. He's going to be in a lot of trouble, but look at the equalizer that's now been able to go in, and Flandre's absolutely cooking. Bilibili Gaming. It's a triple kill for the Rumble, and only Elk will survive.
Oh my god, Elk barely gets out of that. That could have been an ace. And AL have been teasing this Baron so many times now. Shanks is going to come over and help them secure this. This was a very fine dance around this objective. If even one member had gone caught out, if there was a single summoner spell misplaced, BLG could very have easily snapped onto them and destroyed this game. But Kael and the rest of Anyone's Legend are able to turn properly here. As we take a look back at this replay, On making this play into Flandre, I get the idea, but no one else.
Pillar.
Knight not in a position to fight. Elk not in a position to hit. And even with the exhaust, I mean, Kael being able to lock them up, Tarzan right next to them. This is an insanely great fight coming in from Anyone's Legend.
Shanks had a great Fate Seal that he was immediately able to smack back out of over the wall to make sure he didn't get any of that followed elk damage landed on top of him. And crucially, the pillar from Shadow meant that Bin's Unstoppable Onslaught was not able to land on the Hope. He got turned the wrong way, ended up crashing into the wall. That spell did not end up becoming impactful. This time it does, though, as it lands a knockup on the Flandre. Kael forcing the crash down to back away, but Bin is just getting instantly deleted. That's the tank Scion getting one shot by Hope, and the equalizer's burning down on. It's another 2-for-0 for Anyone's Legend.
This game's looking shocked at this point. BLG had looked so competitive for the first 25 minutes, and if this game does go in ultra late, maybe there is a shot for them. But at this moment, AL looks so dominant. There's a dragon they're going to be able to take at the same time, even after their Baron buff despawns in a minute and a half. What an insanely good find yet again coming in from Shanks and from Flandre. The solo laners of AL really stepping up and bringing this team over the finish line.
The veteran who's won a world championship in the top lane, and then the new kid who never really been on a top-performing international team until this split. Of course, making an impression both on and off the Rift, and we're seeing it again. It's been a couple of games in a row, a couple series in a row, where Shanks actually had the better against Knight. He's been one of the best players in the LPL all season long. Now Anyone's Legends with that second Dragon are looking for another fight. On does not have his unbreakable will, and so his will be shattered by Tarzan, who picks up another.
Mid-wave, there's even a top lane wave. AL are starting to suffocate BLG out of this game with a 7,000 gold lead at this point. Continuing to move on, they've got 50 seconds with this Baron. They get one more minion wave to try to assault this inhibitor.
Storm onto Shadow. Not even able to use the subjugate, finally able to get the spell off. However, Flandre now being targeted. Elk almost lands the damage, gets it onto Kael, but Flandre goes golden at the perfect opportunity. He's trying to burn him down, but no! It's 1,100 gold in the back pocket of the Sivir, and BLG have found an overextended Anyone's Legends. It's Hope and Shanks still alive, still pumping out the deeps, but Knight's starting to scale as well. Dodges away from the big one as Bin is going to go down, but he uses the blast cone to try to get over the wall in the zombie form. Not going to be able to chase anyone down just yet, as it is overall a 3-for-1 in favor of BLG.
Jesus Christ, AL, they are really trying to make this one close here. Elk almost had that moment on the Sivir. He has a 2,000 gold lead over his opponent. We got to see those ricochets are sneaking up on Anyone's Legend, kind of slowing their game down. They went from a 7,000 gold lead, now it's down to a 4,000. They've cut this down incredibly well. It's still not out of the woods here for BLG. Let's see if Bilibili can kind of bounce back. They have no time to really push any of these waves.
And this was a little bit ambitious from AL, I guess you could say.
I mean, look at the ricochets. They're just bouncing between all of them. There's even this minion wave that's getting cut up. I mean, I get the idea there. They were thinking they have hell of a lot of damage, even out of an Otacon. Even one kill on the Otacon. Maybe the explosion from the Thornbound passive actually gives them a little bit more combat prowess. Maybe they can get more than just Shadow and Elk. But thankfully for AL, they're able to pick up Bin on the back half and even take a red buff for the rest of the team. So small advantages here for AL as they get ready. I mean, they've got a Baron spawning in 2. You've got the Dragon spawning in 2.5. I
thought we were gonna see another fight, and I was like, wait, Dragon's up again? But no, they're just pushing each other away around this bot side river. We're gonna have the chance to chill, I think, at least for a little bit longer, as Anyone's Legends have opened themselves up about a 4,000 gold lead. However, bottom side of the map is where things have opened up a little bit. The bot lane, who has been the more consistent area of the map for this team over the last couple of weeks, now the ones with the lead, as Elk has himself 4 completed items, has that Vamp Scepter for some extra survivability as well.
So I'm a little bit of a stats nerd, as anybody who knows me might know. Rumble is currently 7, at least before today, 7-8 in the LPL, and had like a 0-4, 0-5 maybe record going up against Sion as the most popular matchup. I was surprised to see this first pick. Obviously, Flandre's a great Rumble, but I had my worries. Bin has obviously showed a lot of expertise on this champion, and just the ability to be a stalwart frontline for a Nazir and a Sivir means that you would have a lot of advantages as the game goes on. But Flandre is leading the team by the front. He is constantly in their face, constantly setting BLG ablaze, and making it difficult for them and their short-ranged carries of Shadow and Elk to be able to get anything done in this game.
And when you combine the equalizers with all the other just like big areas of crowd control of damage that's in the Magnet Storm and the Nature's Grasp, makes for a very scary AL team composition, especially now that Flandre is 5,000 gold ahead of his top lane counterpart in Bin. Obviously the Sion doesn't need a lot of income, but the Rumble certainly does, as they might start another fight around this mid lane tier 1 turret. The Nature's Grasp already coming out, it's slowing down BLG, but only finding the roots onto the front line, not the priority targets that AL are looking for.
You can kind of see this thanks to our observers. You can even see it on the bottom side of the map. There are so many saplings here, and this is one of the things, if you want to try to replicate this at home, when you have this Maokai, play to one side of the map and put a bunch of saplings on the other side. It allows for you to have a lot of map control and some early kind of cheating of the vision there. So Dragon spawns in 30, but AL with this Yone combo, they want to try to burn this out. The Baron's already almost half HP.
And they know they want to do it quick because the Dragon would be Soul. Shadow gets knocked up. Shanks just assassinates his enemy jungler, and he ends up going down, and the snapback is not in time. So Elk's able to make it a 1-for-1, but you will take that if you're AL, because that means Baron's in your hands. You still have to smite, by the way, for the Dragon that would secure the soul for BLG.
They're going to take control of mid, and that should be us going to 6 dragons here in this first game of the series. AL, I love Shanks, man. I love the fact that he was able to just say, you know what, I'm going over this wall. I'm going to make sure that either Elk and Shadow, and while he does fall, he trades 2 of the flashes away from BLG and now secures his team a Baron and another dragon.
You will absolutely take that if you're Shanks. Maybe you wanted to press that E button a little bit quicker, but you're not going to complain if it means you end up taking down the enemy jungler, making sure that mission specifically was accomplished. I mean, Shadow had no idea this was happening until it was far too late.
To be fair to Shadow, he got owned by Tarzan a lot harder than maybe he got owned by Shanks.
That's true.
That was so much of his HP already chunked out because of this AP Maokai that we're seeing here. Unfortunate, we had a lot of good words to say about Shadow and BLG's draft once we saw it, but the execution from AL, and specifically, I think this mid and support combo have been, I think, way better than their counterparts throughout the season even.
Yeah, they're going to look for another fight at the exact same location. The Equalizer at least takes down the wave, but BLG with Bin on the Demolish proc trying to get this tier 1 turret. It might cost them a whole lot with Shanks on a bit of a flank. Tarzan throws out a sapling, and it's going to do a decent chunk of damage. Again, not many objectives to fight for right now, but BLG just trying to regain some control of their own jungle that right now is controlled by their opposition.
Man, this is such a tough game right now for BLG. Every single corner that they try to check for, they go for that mid lane turret, and we've seen this repetitively from AL. Them using the Maokai ultimate and the Equalizer now to clear mid lane waves in a similar sense that BLG would do with an Azir and a Sivir. So something that we didn't get to talk about was that kind of feature right there, and AL using it to not only defend their mid tier 1, but even steal a red buff away from their opponents, and now sieging onto this bottom side. Let's see if they can use this range.
Nature's Grasp on though, gonna find a really nice engage. Hope's already down to 40% HP, but Kael finding a 2-man Magnet Storm. Forces Knight to go gold, and he has to flash on out. But here comes Shanks onto the backline dive. Elk's already down. Knight's already down. BLG are down for the count. It is all 5 members in the Death Chamber as anyone's Legends are 5 strong to take game number 1.
That Maokai ultimate over the wall, and even with On finding multiple members, or at least the carries of anyone's Legend, Knight not able to get that ultimate away from the Azir, and that's anyone's Legend smashing game number 1 in 37 minutes against BLG.
It was methodical, it was collected, it was all in all what we expect to see from our defending champions, as anyone's Legends doing basically what they did to BLG for the past couple of months. They're making no exceptions to this new jungler. Shadow coming in, having some decent opportunities in that early to mid game, but at the end of the day, it was the team fighting from AL, and specifically Flandre and Kael finding continuously amazing engages that helped their team get the win.
Hope didn't even have to do anything this game. Like, he's literally just, okay, I'm farming, I got a free first blood from the Scion, I just have to be able to apply damage and kind of be that backline. But yeah, I mean, just watching Flandre in these team fights, he earned himself a very easy MVP for this first game. This Rumble was everywhere. He did all of the damage for his team. And what I loved about watching this composition from AL is how they played the map. One of the problems that I typically see with Flandre, especially early on into this season, was he stayed out a little too long. He would try to go for an extra wave, try to see what else he could squeeze from his opponents. He would very often get caught out, but as the year has gone by, I feel like he has only sharpened that sense for himself, and he got to pick up a bunch of free waves where Bin had just preemptively moved on the Scion.
Yeah, and you know, if you're a Scion, you're like, oh, I'll let the Rumble get a wave. It's fine if we're making this play. I'll do it again. I'll do it again. But as it kept stacking up more and more, the Equalizer started to hurt a little bit more and more after every fight. It was really great to see from Flandre. I mean, making Bin almost look silly here in that game. And obviously, this is the Scion. It's not necessarily the champions we know Bin for throughout his career. But at this point, you know, that's kind of what he's been relegated to, and kind of adding to what has been the struggles for BLG, specifically against AL, where it's kind of been their kryptonite over the last couple of weeks.
I think of that AL game that they had at MSI where On finds like a 5-man Nico ultimate, Azir comes on through and wipes 4 members, and they still lose the fight. It's just incredible to me that we continue to see such a higher level accessed by AL, and the consistency of this roster, I think, is something and a reason why fans for the LPL are getting really excited, because not only do you have these 5 players that are all really well working together, you have a coaching staff that I think they can believe in, especially when you think about LPL historically. Support has not always been our best position. Kael is very quickly making a name for himself so far in 2025.
And he's somebody that, you know, we mentioned going into this series, had some really great moments in the LPL. Was able to, like, I think, nab the All-Pro first team, able to be, of course, on the winning team. But then when it came to the international, there was some areas, specifically in maybe the series against T1 and Gen G, where maybe he looked a little bit outmatched or just not living up to that same potential. Obviously, for your first international, definitely a lot of that weight falls on your shoulders. But for Kael, you know this guy wants to prove himself again. He wants to make sure that he never has a performance like that again. And it starts by making it to Worlds again, obviously, which AL are going to try to do. And it starts with wins in the regular season at this point against BLG. I mean, this kind of exemplified the entire season for Kael so far.
Yeah. Speaking with Kael at MSI, after their elimination against T1, obviously the mood was pretty somber. Kind of asked him a couple questions about, like, reflecting on the event, if there were things that he was proud of, and while he wasn't exactly excited about the result despite making a top 3, I think the thing that I got away from Kael is very introspective, very much kind of looking at himself and being really reflective towards what he was able to accomplish so far this year. So exciting to see this player who was kind of a surprise addition, or I guess one that we didn't know how it was going to go when you think about his history, playing on Sandbox all those years ago with Prince, almost making it to the into Worlds, unfortunately, in 2022, but kind of was bouncing around, had been playing on AL for a year before this lineup, and this AL roster was able to achieve some pretty decent things for the club, even in last year, before we got Tarzan and Flandre.
Yeah, I mean, this is a squad, they went top 8, 5th or 6th, actually, like in split number 2 of last summer. Not necessarily getting that close to the World Championship, but knowing that this is a core that you could build off of going into 2025, and you pick up a former World Champion top laner who was just like an absolute wizard when it comes to his knowledge and his ability to maneuver certain matchups, and then maybe one of the most underrated players of all time in Tarzan, at least going into 2025. This is a formula for AL that really has worked going into this season, and we're seeing it pay off. The most consistent team. Obviously, you had top esports winning certain events like, you know, the split number 1, but every single final so far in the LPL, whether it's Demacia Cup, split 1 or split 2, AL have been there, and the way things look right now, AL likely will continue to be in those positions for at least the time being.
Yeah, it's actually really funny you bring that up. The fact that they've made all of the finals this year, at least domestically, and even making top 3 at MSI, really are impressive. BLG now back to the drawing board when it comes to what they're looking for here in game number 2. We expect for them to swap over to the blue side, but I think kind of looking at this team, I am really worried as we get towards the end of this year, right? Like, we're running out of runway for this team. How many more jungle swaps do we really got in us before we potentially, I mean, there's 4 seats for Worlds. I'm expecting BLG to be able to farm some of these lower teams, and even now that we're about 8 days into the season, I have my doubts for whether or not JDG or Weibo are really contesting for that 4th slot anymore. So I guess we'll get the matchup later on for this double round robin, but I need to see a lot better games, and I think fans at home want to see this BLG perform because of the high highs that we've gotten them in years past.
I mean, it's again, the team just a year ago was the 2nd best team in the entire world, nearly taking down T1 at the World Finals. Our player of the game goes to Flandre, but overall the questions still remain for BLG. Are they going to be able to reclaim that form? Are they going to be able to go back to when they were hoisting international trophies, or will this kind of just be the end of what was, again, such an amazing run? Time will still tell, obviously, here, Alk, but right now it's anyone's legends that are telling the story so far.
And it's a great tale. We'll see if they're able to kind of continue to replicate it. It's a long season. They've been in every finals that we've seen here domestically so far this year. And considering that they've had to go to a couple of internationals now, they've got a lot on their plate. It's a long year for these 2 teams.
And hey, series not over just yet either. There's a chance BLG just bounced back after we were just singing their eulogies. They're not dead yet. It's anyone's Legends, though, did claim game number 1. We'll see if they force that decider or if it will be that 2-0 sweep once we come back from this short break here on LPL English.